I'm going to present about kindergarten children's metacognitive self-regulated learning. The purpose of this study is to explore potential components of kindergarten children's metacognitive self-regulated learning, generally as active students in all phases of learning. Metacognitive self-regulated learners engage in planning, monitoring, and evaluation processes. The three constructs of MSRL have an interrelated relationship rather than separately working. They are working together interdependently toward a goal. And this study is important because most of the studies on MSRL have conducted with older students. There is very little research done with young children's MSRL. So as a first step, in order to examine if kindergartners are engaged in MSRL, we recruited 40 kindergarten children to explore potential constructs of kindergartners' MSRL. We examined the similarities and differences between 24 effective and 16 ineffective problem solvers in their perception of MSRL. So there's 18 girls and 22 boys in our study. And in order to define effective and ineffective problem solvers, each child participated in the SDL task before interview. There was a SDL apparatus prepared on the table. It consists of 9 nuts, bolts, and matching holes in increasing sizes on a wooden board. Each child was asked to put all things together in the right places on a wooden board. So 24 children were referred to as effective problem solvers because they were able to put all things together in the right places. And 16 students were referred as ineffective problem solvers because they couldn't complete the task. So after completing in the SDL task, each child watched an ineffective model's videotape. In the video, a model performed the SDL task with a trial and error approach and finally asked for help. During and after watching the video, children were asked how they could help the model. Data were videotaped and then transcribed and analyzed using the content analysis. The effective and ineffective children's statement and behaviors were analyzed separately. There were 3 themes emerged around the effective children's awareness of MSRL processes. First theme was about effective children's awareness of planning process. Their interview data indicated that the effective children understood important role of planning process to correct the model's performance. For example, one child said he has to see how big they are. These are the same as the holes, and putting things in the holes, he has to find the biggest and the shortest and the tallest and the littlest. Just like this child, effective children understood planning processes, such as understanding a task goal, putting all things together, and then a characteristic of the task. For example, same size among all 3 aspects of the items and a sequential order. And second theme emerged around awareness of monitoring processes toward a task goal. The effective children thought the model needed to monitor his performances related to the task goal and characteristics of the task. For example, one child said, he has to check it in each hole to see which one is right. And they have to be same sizes. He has to look the size to the same as the hole. The last theme, it was emerged around stop and thinking. Their metacognitive strategies were coupled with their understanding of the nature of the task and also task goal and monitoring processes. For example, one child said, to find the right place, he needs to think, he has to think in his head to put them in the order. He needs to think which one is right for the whole. He needs to take this one out and put it right there. He has to stop and think to figure it out. He's sort of thinking, but he's not thinking right because he thinks fast. He maybe gets dizzy. He can't think right. And we find out two themes around ineffective children's responses. The first theme of ineffective children's responses was a lack of understanding MSRL processes. All ineffective children understood the model performed was not correct, and also they aware of importance of monitoring process related to correcting the model's performance. But the difference between ineffective and effective groups, ineffective group, their monitoring processes was not based upon the understanding of the task or task goal. No one really mentioned the task goal or the characteristic of task, such as the same size among items or sequential order. For example, one child pointed the number 5 hole with number 7 bolt without addressing overall tasks, saying he needs to put this one right there. And then second theme, it was around a trial and error approach. Most of the ineffective children demonstrated what the model should have done using the SDL item. And they use a try and error approach with simple verbal suggestions. For example, one child picked up number 9 bolt on a table, pointed number 5 hole on the TV screen, saying to the model, you have to get the big one. You have to put it in this hole. We find out both effective and ineffective children were able to recognize the model's mistakes and the important role of monitoring process related to problem solving. However, only the effective children, they're the one able to make a connection between a monitoring process and planning. And we find out effective children were able to use MSRL processes in a certain context. Maybe children's version of MSRL might not be very much different from other older age children in certain tasks. And we have some implication for educators. Educators who work for kindergartners may want to encourage children to spend appropriate amount of time understanding project features, task questions, goals before starting performance or project. Also, they can encourage children to use monitoring processes based upon their understanding of the task or task goals. Also, to help monitoring processes, educator can encourage children to talk aloud so they can hear their thinking processes, so they can use those process as the monitoring and checking if they're on the right track. Also comparing from original goals, and maybe they can revise and monitor. Revise their strategies which are working well and picked more useful one. And this will be my last slide to share with you. Do you have any question?